How's it going, everybody? My name is Scouts, and I am here to give you the Idiot's Guide to building a Rebel extension for Antistasi Ultimate. I will do video for Invader and Occupier factions along with a rival, and I will also do a video on how to add weapons and vehicles to the arms dealer when I figure that out for myself, because I actually haven't figured that part out yet. But I do, however, know how to make Rebel extensions fairly well. Have made a few of them. They all seem to work, so I'm going to show you how I do it. You're going to need a few things. One thing you're going to need can be easily gotten off of Steam. You're going to want to have your tools selected as well, and you're going to want to download Arma 3 tools. You're going to download that and run that. You're going to want to run Arma 3 and Arma 3 tools at least once before doing this. So once you have those downloaded, you're going to come to whatever browser you use, and we're going to download Visual Studio Code. And we're also going to download PBO Manager. I heavily recommend it. And then we are going to download some add-ons for Visual Studio Code. We're going to download Arma 3 Dev, and we're going to download Arma 3 Open Blast RPT. I will have everything linked in the description. And the third thing we're going to download, or I guess this is the sixth thing we're going to download, is we're going to go to the Arma 3, the Antistasi Ultimate extender GitHub, and we're going to download the master extender for the template we're going to use. And so once we have all of that downloaded, we are going to go ahead and open Visual Studio Code. And once Visual Studio Code is opened, I'm going to minimize it. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the drive that has your Steam library. So if you have only one drive, that should be your Windows library, program files x86. We're going to go down to Steam. We're going to go to Steam Apps, Common, and then your Arma 3 should be in here. But my Arma 3 is not on this drive. My Arma 3 is on a different drive. So my Arma 3 is going to be Steam Library in my A drive, Steam Apps, Common. So we know the A drive is the drive that hosts my Steam library. So what we're going to do for this is we are going to build a root file in the directory. I have a lot of other root files already here, but we're going to build a root file in the directory. I am going to build Alpha Group, the Russian Alpha Group, as a rebel for this purpose. I wanted to do it. Thought I might film it. I had already started doing it up here, but we're going to rename this folder to root alpha 2. And then I'm going to open root alpha 2, and I'm going to open up the WinRAR folder for the master extender. If you have 7-zip, that's fine too. And we are going to drag and drop the master file into root alpha 2. And once that master file is there, we are going to go and minimize close out of WinRAR, and we are going to open up Visual Studio Code again. And as you can see, it already started. So what we're going to do is we're going to go hit File. We're going to go Open Folder. We're going to go to our drive. So that was on my A drive. We're going to click on that. We're going to find root alpha 2. We're going to double click on that, and we're going to click once on the A3 extender master, and we're going to click Select Folder. And that's going to open this up. And we're going to hit I trust the authors for the root alpha 2, and click Select. And then we can close this. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to hit Control-Shift-P, and you are going to go Arma 3, and you'll see Arma 3 Configure. It might not be in the recently used for you, because you probably haven't done this yet, but you're going to click Arma 3 Configure, and that is going to build you an arma-dev.json file. Now, it looks a little wonky. I will have a template for one in the description, but we're going to go and open up another folder real quick just to grab one that I've already done. So we'll go into my Alpha Group one that I had done previously. And I'm just going to copy and paste this over. This is what your JSON will look like, and we'll come back to this. So we're going to go back to here, open folder, go back to root alpha 2, select, open that up. We're going to, from the bottom bracket, highlight everything, and we're going to hit Control-V and paste that in. So that is our arma.dev, or armadev.json folder. Now, the client directory right here it needs to be the same as the folder name right here. So these are conflicting currently. So I'm going to click on A3UE. I'm going to hit F2 on my keyboard. If you don't have a F2 for some dumb reason, you can click on it and right-click and hit rename. And we're going to click on the end of this, unhighlight it, and we're going to do underscore AG for alpha group. So this file name is now A3UE underscore AG. And we are done with that currently. We're going to come up here, and we are going to click right-click on arma.dev. Jeez, I can't speak right now. Arma-dev.json, and we're going to click save. So right now, that is fine to go. I did forget to mention while recording this, and I forgot to mention a few things, so there's going to be random intermittent pauses during this video to kind of make sure I cover everything, was the JSON file. I just kind of showed you guys to copy and paste it, but I didn't really explain it that well. I did kind of explain the Steam path section. This is where you're going to put in your Steam path, obviously. This needs to be where your Arma 3 and Arma tools are located. If you have Arma 3 and Arma tools on different drives, I would recommend just moving Arma tools to whatever drive Arma 3's on, because Arma tools is like tiny and it shouldn't take up much space, so you should just be easily able to move that over. But I didn't really explain like what to do here. Obviously, I left it blank because this is all pertaining to me, but you'd change some of this. Obviously, you'd match your client directory to whatever you have your mod name as, obviously. So mine's alpha group, so I have this as alpha group. But if you say yours was A3UE underscore foot for whatever reason, you need to make sure this says A3UE underscore foot, and instead of saying A3UE underscore AG. And then we get up to the top. Title's pretty self-explanatory. This is the title of your mod. This is whatever you want it to be. So, the title, obviously, Alpha Group is what I'm doing. The name, Alpha, just kind of self-explanatory, or not self-explanatory, just to break it down a little bit smaller, and then just the name, whoever you are, whatever your name is, whatever you want the mod to be authorized as, or authorized, whatever you want the author of your mod to be. I leave website blank. I leave version blank. You need your build path to be build, so don't touch that. And this is where you would add a key if you were adding a key for private servers. I have on my dedicated server key verification just turned off because a lot of cool mods unfortunately don't have keys, so you can't use them on dedicated servers. But if you turn key verification off, you can use whatever the hell you want. So I recommend doing that. But if you need to put a key in, that's where you'd put one. And then you leave server directory blank, and you leave server use32 blank. But obviously your client directory needs to be whatever the name of this is. And then your Steam path needs to be wherever your actual Arma 3 copy is. Not where your Steam was originally downloaded, just wherever Arma 3 and Arma tools lies. So that is kind of the rundown of the .json or JSON. We are then going to go into the A3UE underscore AG folder, and we are going to go into the add-on folder, and we're going to delete a few of these because we're not going to use them. We are going to delete functions. We're not going to be using functions. We are going to delete howls. We're not going to be using howls. We're going to delete maps because we're not going to make this faction map specific. It's going to be used on every map. And then we are going to delete ultimate. You wouldn't delete these if you were adding things to be able to be purchased from the arms dealer, but like I said, this is just an extension to build a Rebel group. We're not adding anything to the arms dealer. And you can also delete this README folder if you'd like to as well. So we're going to come down here, and we can delete a bunch of other stuff. We can delete this README, because I am not going to use the install.ps1 method. I am using the Visual Studio Code method, so we can delete this. We can delete this, we can delete this, we can delete this. We can go into tools, and honestly, we can delete the whole tools folder as well. And we can delete the whole image folder as well. So we have literally just this. We have in our extender master, we have our Visual Studio Code for the .json file, and then we have the add-ons and metas folders. And in the add-ons folder, we have cores and templates. That's all we're going to use for right now. This is a very simple build for a Rebel extension, but it should work. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into templates, and this is why I recommended having PBO Manager. We are going to steal a template from one of my other Rebel extensions. You are more than welcome to do this. I have them out here on my desktop. But if you didn't have that, you'd go into your Steam library, Common, Arma 3, and then you'd click right next to Arma 3, unhighlight everything, /, and then we come down to the exclamation mark workshop, and we're just going to click on that. That's going to open up your entire mod list. Every mod you have downloaded on your computer. Some reason this may not work for some of you. You might have to go through Steam and go into your workshop, and then we're going to go to a random thing I've posted. You can see these numbers at the top, 36084578864. If for some reason you're not seeing at the mod name in these folders and it's showing the Steam ID, that's how you tell what mod is which. It's very tedious and very annoying. I've only seen a few people affected by this, but that is how you find a specific mod if for some reason your folder names are not showing up the correct title. But we're going to steal the template folder from my SAS extension. Yep, there we go. A3UE SAS. We're going to click on add-ons. We're going to click on templates, and we're going to open that templates folder up. We can minimize out of this. I already went ahead and did this. It is in this folder, but you're going to want to make a folder called templates, spelled undercase. And then we are going to right-click on the PBO manager on the PBO. You see this is the full packed PBO. We are going to right-click on it. We are going to click Extract, and we are going to find that folder that I just made. So that's going to be in A3UE SAS, and it's going to be in templates. We're going to click on it once, and we're going to click OK. And now that entire folder was extracted to the templates folder. So we have the entirety of that templates folder in a folder named templates. What we're going to do next is we are going to open up Visual Studio Code. I'm going to put it on this side of the screen. I'm going to bring this one over to this side of the screen. We have our add-ons folder. We have our templates folder. We have a templates folder. We're going to take this templates folder right here, and we are going to drag it and drop it into, hold on. I don't know why core open. We're going to drag it and drop it into the add-ons section right here. And you're going to see a file or folder with the same name, templates, already exists in the destination folder. Do you want to replace it? You're going to click yes. We're going to replace that entire folder. That entire folder has now been replaced. We can minimize this. We can go back to full screening this. So the next thing we're going to do is make sure everything got in there correctly. So as you can see, this is a British flag for the SAS. We're going to change all of this, but it did add over correctly. The reason I do this is so you don't have to go from scratch. You can just take the existing things. We'll go into the actual template real quick. So you can see the British are driving, Forerunners. I gave them pickup trucks, Land Rovers, little dune buggies and stuff like that. To change a class name out, we're just going to double click and delete. And now we're going to type in the new class name. So if for example, the cars I want the Russians to be able to drive that are light unarmed, this is not going to be the correct class name, but we would type in UAZ_01_F. And now instead of that side-by-side dune buggy spawning, it'll be a Forerunner spawning. So this is why I do, or not Forerunner, this would be the UAZ spawning. This is why I do it this way, though, because you can just pick things out and replace them with other things. You don't have to go through and add anything. This will minimize any punctuation errors as well, because everything's already set up. So we're going to now go into, we're going to close this all down. So the first thing, so we're all set up. We have our template in there for the Rebels, and we have our JSON folder in there as well. So now we are going to go through the entirety of the add-ons folder and make sure the name matches A3UE_AG. So in cores, there's only a few places this needs to be changed. So your PBO prefixes, this needs to be changed. So we see A3UE, and we need to add _AG. That's it. So that PBO prefix is done. So we're going to go over here, and we're going to right-click on the PBO prefix, and we're going to click Save. And now we're going to go into the includes portion of the core folder, and we're going to go through and find anything that has that A3UE in it. And I don't believe there's many in this folder besides mod_name.hpp. So we're going to go into mod_name.hpp, and we're going to, again, just add that _AG to the end of A3UE. And again, we're going to right-click on mod name HPP, and we're going to click Save. And then we're going to go, just make sure, I'm 99% sure there's no other spots in core that has this. Yes, okay, so we're done here. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into templates. We're going to go through everything in templates and make sure that nothing has that A3UE. We pulled this template from my special forces for the United Kingdom. So we need to change this from UKSF to AG. And then we can hit Save. And we're going to come up to the config. Nothing in the config. Nothing in markers. We will be changing this. We can actually go ahead and change this right now. Just the name. We're going to change this from Special Air Service to Alpha Group. And then we're going to go up here, and we're going to right click, and we're going to click Save, and we're going to go into Logistics, nothing there. We're going to go into the add-on info, nothing there. Well, here's another PBO prefix. We need to change this. So we're going to go AG. And now we're going to go into the template section. We're going to go up here, make sure anything, we're going to be changing all of this eventually, but we're not going to change it right now. We're just looking for that AG, or that AUE. There we go. Now, I believe I have this portion duplicated. It doesn't affect anything. It's simply just duplicated. I don't think I need to have it here, but I keep it anyway, because if it ain't broke, don't fucking fix it. There's some core things with Arma 3, but it is not broke, don't fix it, and if you get an error message you can close, you can ignore it. Those are the two principles I live by when it comes to this. So we're going to go up here again, and we're going to click right-click, Save. I forgot to click this PBO, or save this PBO prefix, so we're going to click right-click, and we're going to click Save, and then we're going to come back down here, and we're going to go through and make sure nothing else matches that A3U underscore UKSF, or just says A3UE. It means to say A3UE underscore AG. And I believe this is case sensitive, so make sure it's capitalized. So that is that for right now. We're done with the building portion. Some error messages might pop up for you when you try to get the JSON to pop up. It might give you issues with your Steam path down here. You might need to change this to match the Steam path. Sometimes it auto does the Steam path in your because I do have a second Steam path. I have a second Steam path in my, I actually have a third Steam path in that other drive for other games, but the main Steam path on my Windows drive, if I can find this, I went to Program Files, not Program Files 86. The main Steam path will be a C drive, so it's just like C, X Programs 86, X Steam. If that's not where your drive for Arma 3 and Arma Tools is, then you're going to need to change that. But you should be able to, after having all of this, we should be able to hit Control-Shift-P, and we're going to go down here and click Save. Control-Shift-P, and we're going to go Arma 3 again, but instead of Configure, like we did before, we're going to click Build. And I don't have any keys in the mod currently, so you're going to see this error message if you don't have any private keys selected. But you see that it completed itself into a build. And if we close this down, we now have a build folder. And in that build folder, we now have alpha with a core and PBO template. Now, the core is the correct core for alpha group, but this PBO template is the template that I drag and dropped from the SAS mod. So if we were to go into the game right now and boot it up, it would say alpha group in name, but all the gear and everything would be from the SAS. So we need to fix that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up Arma 3, and we are going to go ahead and load every mod that we want to use in the extension we're using. And you can load some other things. Like I loaded Ace because I want to use the Ace arsenal because it's a little bit better than the default arsenal. But Ace won't be dependent on the mod. But when you use something like Alive or some of the other faction making mods, any mod you have loaded then becomes dependent on becomes dependent with that faction. That's not the case in Antistasi. We're just using class names. So if you had 78 mods downloaded, but you're only using class names from 5 of them, it's only going to include the 5 mods. So I just make it simple. I'll add a bunch of client-side mods when I'm using this on my server, but for right now, I just wanted the 4 main mods that make RHS work within Antistasi, and that is the 4 RHS mods. And then I'm adding the Alpha Group equipment and a few other vehicles that I thought were cool little Russian vehicles for Alpha Group to be driving around in. And we're going to hit play, and we're going to wait for that to boot up. Okay. So, once you've opened up Arma 3, there's one thing I recommend you doing on Arma 3, and that's going into your video section, and we're going to go to display. I recommend you put your Arma 3 for just now. If you want to change this back later, you can. I recommend you put it on full screen windowed. The reason I recommend this is this Arma 3 does not support multitasking, so when you click out of Arma 3, if you have a second monitor for example, or if you alt-tab if you do not, a lot of times this causes Arma 3 to crash in full screen mode. But if you're in full screen window mode, for some reason, at least for me and for some other people that I've talked to, this seems to crash Arma less frequently. And we're going to need to alt-tab frequently while building this extension, so full screen window is what I recommend. So we're going to go into the editor. I recommend going into virtual reality so you don't have to spawn any other assets. And we are going to have the editor open. And now we're going to alt-tab, and we're going to go into Visual Studio Code. So then we're going to go back up into that A3UE underscore AG section, add-ons, and templates. And we are going to go into templates again, scouts, and SPMC. Now, I use the same layout for all of my Rebel extensions because I'm lazy. You're more than welcome to change any of the names if you copy over. This is a template. I don't change the names in my Rebels extensions only. I do in my Invader and Occupier and Rivals. The only reason I don't do this is because you can't load more than one Rebel extension at the same time. So there's no point in me changing the names because you can't. This will conflict if you try to, like, so say you try to load 3 of my Rebel extensions at the same time. I don't think one of them will show up, if not any of them will show up, because they kind of cancel each other out because they have the same names. But you shouldn't be loading 3 of my Rebel extensions at the same time because you can only play with one of them at the same time. If you wanted to have gear from the other mods downloaded, that's more than fine. Just unselect the mod from your mod list, and it should show up just fine. The only reason I don't do that is because you can't load Rebel extensions at the same time. I do change all of this class names and file names in my Invader and Occupier extensions so they can be used together. That's the only reason I'm lazy when it comes to Rebel extensions. So we're going to go into the scouts underscore reb underscore SPMC because the first faction I ever made was a PMC faction for my group. And I just kind of used that template to keep going. So we have this. So this is our Rebel information. So we have our name right here. We're going to change the name from the SAS. Make sure you keep everything inside of these parentheses. I do not mean parentheses. I mean quotation marks. Like I said, this is the idiot's guide to building an extension. Not parentheses, quotation marks. Within brackets and quotation marks. Good Lord. Okay. So you're going to want to work within your quotation marks. We're going to change the SAS. You can double-click within Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code understands that within these quotation marks is text. So if you double-click, it'll highlight everything within those quotation marks. We're going to change this to Alpha Group. I can spell. There we go, Alpha Group. Now, there are built-in flags with certain mods. You can have the flag texture call from these built-in mods. I normally just add a flag myself. Like I take a PNG and I convert it to a .PAA. I add both just so I can know what I'm working with, but I'll convert this .PNG into a .PAA. Arma 3 Tools has that built in. I'll show you how to do that when we get to that. But we're going to ignore the flag for right now. We're not going to touch the flag. The flag is going to be something I do near the end. But we're going to keep everything the same name because all I'm going to change is the texture of the flag. So when it calls to that texture, it'll be the Russian flag instead of the Union Jack as it is currently. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into our basic vehicles and light vehicles section. I always start with vehicles. I kind of just go down the list. So vehicles is the first thing we're going to edit. So we're going to go into our editor and we're going to grab some vehicles. I don't think quad bikes are east or west. I think quad bikes are pretty universal, so I think I'm going to keep quad bikes in the basic vehicle section for the Alpha Group. Another reason why I'm going to keep quad bikes is because you can also load loot crates onto the back of quad bikes, so very useful to have in basically anything to do with Antistasi. So I'm going to leave the quad bike alone. I think the quad bike will be fine for them. We already deleted that razor that was there in the first place, but a UAZ01 underscore 01 underscore F isn't an actual class name. So if I want them to have a UAZ, we will come in here and we will go into op4 and we will go down into the Russians. And we we'll grab a UAZ. So we're going to go into, I don't know which group I want them to have. I don't know if I want them to be part of the mechanized infantry. I don't know if I want them to be the National Guard or the Navy. Probably just go from the mechanized infantry. We're going to grab a car, and we're just going to grab a simple UAZ. And we can see the class name for the UAZ is RHS underscore UAZ underscore MSV underscore 01. I think there's a way to copy this class name down. There is ways to copy other class names down, but the way I do it is kind of just highlight on that, Alt Tab out, and if you have your Arma in full screen window mode, it'll stay up in the background, and you can minimize your workstation to show that class name. So we're going to go over here. And this is really only for vehicles. I only do this for vehicles. For vests, helmets, and other stuff, you can just copy and paste the class names. But this is where you need to pay attention. You need to make sure, well, again, you're inside the quotation marks, and you're, I believe this is case sensitive. I could be wrong. I am just going to be anal about this, and I believe everything within this code is case sensitive. So I'm going to put my keyboard in caps lock. We're going to type RHS underscore UAZ underscore. Ooh, no, I didn't do that right. Delete that. That was a parentheses. Not a parentheses. Well, I really can't speak English. This is why I'm just teaching you how to do a thing and not running a grammar course. But we're going to do RHS underscore UAZ underscore MSV underscore, again, type in the wrong fucking key, 01. We're gonna go through and make sure my dyslexic ass didn't type anything wrong. RHS underscore UAZ. We have RHS underscore UAZ underscore MSV underscore 01 underscore MSV underscore 01, all within the quotation marks. And that wasn't parentheses I typed. Don't try to do these things jacked up on caffeine and a little stoned. My goodness. Okay, first car is taken care of. That's the car I want the Russians to be driving around in. These are light unarmed vehicles, so that is a light unarmed vehicle. Second light unarmed vehicle, maybe we give them an open UAZ, or maybe we give them one of the UAZs I had from the one of the mods I downloaded. So we have this UAZ. This looks like a light unarmed vehicle. Why not? So again, I'm going to put the text in the corner. I'm going to Alt Tab out. It'll still stay up there. We're going to come down in here to this forerunner that we're going to delete. We're going to, again, double click within the quotation marks. This will highlight the entirety of the text. We're going to type MK. Oh, this one is lowercase. We're going to type caps lock off. We're going to type MKK underscore UAZ 4 5 2 B. That's done. And now we're going to go to the next car. Now, you don't have to have the same amount of cars. If you want Russia to only have 2 cars, you just want them to have, and if you, who says you're building the same faction as I am? Whatever faction you're building, if you only want them to have 2 light unarmed cars, we would then delete this comma right here, and then we would come here, and we would delete the bottom text, because the last line in your line of code here, and anything that's like bracketed off like this is, as you can see, this this bracket actually ends down here, and there's just an end of space. But whatever's the last line of text before this bracket does not need a comma, because that comma is basically telling the script that another thing is coming afterward. So if you have that comma there and you don't have a line of text underneath, nothing will load, because the script is kind of screwing itself over. So you need to make sure that if, like I said, we want these 2 vehicles to be the only vehicles we have left, we delete that last comma, and then we'll come down here and we will delete these lines of text right here, and the alpha group will only have a quad bike, a UAZ, and a UAZ bus spawn in. But I'm going to hit Control Z, I'm going to hit Control Z, I'm going to hit Control Z, I'm going to hit Control Y, I went too far, and we're going to bring all that back. So we have, next car we're going to do is a vanilla off-road. I don't want them to be driving around. Well, actually, I'm going to keep the vanilla off-road purely off the fact that Antistasi does need vehicles that you can load crates into, and a lot of modded vehicles don't have this capacity for some reason. I'm not sure if that's something that I can fix when I figure out how to add vehicles to the arms dealer, but as of right now, I just try to keep certain vehicles that can load crates, because from airdrop missions, for taking crates back from outposts and seaports and stuff like that, you need something that can load it in. And not everybody wants to drive a a Ural or a Kamaz every time. They want to get out of there quick. So I can try to keep something that can at least carry one thing. So we're going to keep that off-road in there. But the Alpha Group doesn't drive around in Land Rovers. And I do have a cool Russian UAZ Patriot mod. This is a kind of like a SUV and pickup truck that is domestic for Russia. So we're going to spawn the pickup in... I'm going to spawn it in green for them, because we can also give, in a moment I'll show, but we can give people civilian vehicles as well, and these will actually give you the undercover prompt, like like an actual civilian vehicle. They won't spawn in the population with the civilians, because again, I have to figure out how to make civilian factions. I haven't got the weighted vehicle classes correct yet, but I'm working on it. But you can, in a Rebel extension, give yourself... Yes, vehicle civ cars. We can give ourselves a plethora of cars that will spawn in as undercover. But I'm going to have the green one be the one for the guys to drive around in. It's going to be a military vehicle, and then I might do red, or I might do black, or I might do both, because you can't change the color on these cars. I think I'm just going to do both of these as civilian vehicles. We're going to take those for right now. So, the UAZ in green, and then I need the SUV variant of this guy. There we go. So that's the SUV variant. So we are going to, again, go over here, Alt-Tab out, and we have this class name. We're going to double-click. This one is capitalized, so we're going to UAZ underscore 01 underscore. This is not capitalized, so we're going to transport underscore capital F. And that's done. We're going to make sure that's spelled correctly, though. UAZ underscore 01 underscore transport underscore F. There we go. And the same thing for this guy right here. We're going to go, well, actually, that one's pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to hold that one. This one's literally just UAZ underscore pat. There we go. So our vehicles in the light unarmed category are done. We are now going to move into the light armed category. These will be like, you can see I have the Huskies and Land Rovers from 3CB's British vehicles, but we're going to change that over, obviously, because this mod, this extension won't even have those as dependencies. So we're going to change 3 light unarmed vehicles, or light armed vehicles. I think that's actually too many light armed vehicles. So we're going to do 2 light armed vehicles for the Alpha Group. So we're going to come here, and we are going to give them a... Let's see. We will give them... There we go. I'm not sure if I want one that has the boxed off. Nah, I feel like that might be a little too cheesy for a Rebel Group. So we're going to give them the open one so people can get shot out of the back. So this will be our first unarmed vehicle, or our first light armed vehicle. And the second light armed vehicle we're going to use should just be a... Thought there was a UAZ with the PKM, but maybe not. No, maybe I will just give 2 variants of the, let's see. I think 3CB is the one that adds the UAZs with the mounts, which is unfortunate, because 3CB just had an update that pushed it over 23 gigs in size, and I find that a little bit outrageous. So that's why I've been building all these RHS extensions, because I no longer want to use 3CB. That's an insane amount of bloat. If they went the route of Cup and released their mods as like a vehicle and weapons pack, I might consider using them again, because they do have some great vehicles. But 23 gigs in size for one mod, that's dependent on RHS, which is also quite large, is asinine. 3CB developers, if you're listening to me, which I guarantee you're not, fix that shit, please. Or at the very least, release your vehicles as a standalone mod, because that's fucking insane. Good God. Oh, Alpha Group mod has their own cars, but I think these are just reskinned vanilla. These are just reskinned vanilla group cars. But you know what? Fuck it. We'll add this one right here as a light unarmed vehicle. Actually, you know what? No, that is a minigun. I'm not giving them a light unarmed vehicle as a minigun. I might give them that as their anti-air vehicle, but they are not getting that as a minigun. So now we play the game of trying to find what we want to have as the second light unarmed vehicle. And I think I'm just going to go with the, let's see. Ooh, that's nice. I'm going to do the same thing just with a camo scheme. I like that. Okay. So that's UAZ gun MG underscore camo. Oh, I didn't even do the first one yet. Oops. So that's UAZ underscore gun MG. UAZ underscore gun MG. Now, this one is essentially the same thing. So we're going to go and hit Control. We're going to double click on that. We're going to hit Control C. We're going to come down here and hit double click, and we're going to hit Control V. And all we're going to do is add camo. And there we go. So now we have our two light unarmed vehicles. Now we're going to add a truck. That truck is going to be the Gaz. I don't like the Ural very much. So we're going to give them Open Gaz. So RHS, this is all. RHS is really weird with their class names. A lot of them are uppercase, and then a lot of them are lowercase. And doesn't seem to be any kind of reason for it. I don't know if the person, while they were making it, were kind of bored and didn't want to hold down shift anymore or something, but you'll notice that a lot with working with RHS and building factions. You see this RHS was all uppercase, and this one's all lowercase. But again, I believe that the text is case sensitive, so I just make sure everything matches the class names. But we can see right here, I accidentally deleted a quotation mark. I don't know how I did that. I did it right here. There we go. Oh, it's doing this. I don't, for some reason, this will happen occasionally, where it'll do like two lines of text at once. I just kind of close Visual Studio Code, and then I just reopen it. Because Visual Studio Code saves your work as you're going through it. So that's all you really need to do. So we're going to go 660. Nope, 660. Zeros and O's can be a little confusing within class names because there is, in Visual Studio, zeros have a dash through them, but a capital O and a 0 on a class name within Arma 3 looks very similar. So you got to pay attention to that. But that is a O. That is not a 0. That is a lowercase letter O. So we added that, and we're going to go over here, and we're going to go underscore VDV. For some reason, like I said, it deleted my quotation mark. That would have caused an error when I went to load this faction up. Nothing would have worked. It would have got to this line 28 in the code, and when I try to read 29, it wouldn't have been able to because there was no quotation mark to tell it to go to line 30. So that's why you got to pay attention to make sure you're working within the quotation marks and you don't delete them. And like I said earlier, this is a 1 of 1. So if your line just has 1 item in it, as opposed to having 2, you just have no comma at the end of it, just to signify that that line is done at the end of that. It doesn't need to go down to the second line to read more code. So that is done there. We are now going to go into our AT section. I don't want to give them multiple AT vehicles, but I think I'm just going to do the same thing I did with the light unarmed vehicle. I'm going to give them 1 in the green and then 1 in the camo. And luckily, that UAZ Patriot mod I downloaded has many different anti-tank models. So we're going to go here with a cord, but I want it to be open. There we go. I'm sorry, not cord, a metis. And then I'm going to go down here to the camo, and I want this to be open. And there we go. We'll have UAZ Technicals with metises. So we're going to come here, double click inside of that, UAZ underscore PO underscore metis. Again, making sure everything is case sensitive. Going to come over here, and this is the same thing, UAZ underscore PO underscore metis. This one's just an extra thing at the end, underscore camo. So we're going to come down here, we're going to double click on the first UAZ underscore PO underscore metis. And we're going to double click on this. We're going to Control V to paste that in. And then we're going to go ahead and hit underscore and camo. And there we go. Now we're going to go to the AA category. I saw that AA vehicle. Miniguns are actually pretty good against AA. So I think a minigun, or against aircraft. So I think the minigun version of this will suffice. Now I do believe this vanilla vehicle is part of Apex. Yeah, I believe this is just a reskinned Polaris Dagger. So if you do not have Apex, unfortunately, you will not be able to use this vehicle. So I don't know if I'm going to do that. I like to keep some of my things not dependent on DLC. So I'm actually not going to use the thing for that. And we are going to come down here, go through the Patriots, and see if anything else will work for anti-air. And it doesn't look so. So I'm going to go into the MSV and see if they have anything that would be good for anti-air. Nah, these BRDMs aren't phenomenal. BTR. You know, maybe I will just use that for now. And if it becomes an issue, I can easily change the class name out. So, we come down here. We're going to change this to AGE underscore LSV underscore mini. Make sure that M is capitalized. Mini gun. And that one's good to go. Now we're going to go to boats. Let's see. Do they have their own boats? Well, they do. They do have their own Navy. Where's the Navy? There's the Navy VMF. Their boat's pretty bad. I don't think Russian Tier 1 units are going to be running around on a tugboat. So I'm going to give them a vanilla boat. Let's go into CSAT. And then go to boats. And let's see. So they have one of the transport boats already. That's fine. We'll keep that there. We're going to change the speedboat, though, from the British rib. So we're going to go 0. That's actually an O, not a 0. Boat. Armed. One vanilla things tend to have quite long class names for some reason. There we go. But I've actually done some of the Mexican things I've done were like fucking 7 or 8 underscores long. So maybe vanilla's not too bad. All right, so boat's done. Now we're gonna come down to plane. Plane can be a helicopter, but plane can obviously also be a plane. These are the planes that appear when you call a recon plane in, when you call a bombing run in. That is the vehicle that will spawn. So we are going to make it probably an MI8. I think that's probably the smartest option here. I don't know if I want an MI8 MT or an MI8 T. So this is the helicopter that's going to spawn for the Russians. I could do a plane. Do a frogfoot. Might do a frogfoot, actually. I'm going to do a frogfoot for their plane. So we're going to add the frogfoot. We're going to go RHS underscore SU25 SM underscore VVS. Wonderful. Okay. Now these are the civilian planes that are going to spawn. Like when you go into the box to buy a civilian plane. The civilians do have just one plane in vanilla. And I think that's already what I already have listed is Seaplane Civil 01F. Yep. So I'm not going to change the plane for these guys because, I mean, let's be honest, who's using the civilian plane? I'm never taking the civilian plane off for a spin unless it's for shits and giggles because we're all bored on the server. Civilian helicopter, different story. But civilian plane, I'm just going to keep it as that. Medical vehicles as well, I add them, never really use them. But, you know, maybe some people using these factions in more of a milsim setting will want a medevac vehicle. So I do give medevac vehicles. And there is a medevac vehicle that I want to use. We're going to go to MSV. We're going to go car. And we're going to find that UAZ with the medical stuff. So we're going to go here. We're going to go here. Now, I already typed in a majority of this up here. So we're going to come up here. We're going to hit Control-C after we've highlighted everything. Just make sure that's correct. MKK_UAZ452B. Yep. We're going to come down here to medical. We're going to double-click into that, highlight everything, Control-V, and I'm just going to add that hash or underscore med to the end. Okay. So we have done all of the military vehicles. Now we're going to kind of dip into the civilian side. I'm going to keep a lot of this the same because civilian vehicles kind of suck. So we're not going to change much. I don't think I'm going to have any of the Toyota vehicles I use in some of my other mods be dependent. So we are going to delete the Toyota and 3CV vehicles on out of there. There we go. And okay, so I'm going to keep all of this the same. These are civilian cars that you can purchase from the box. These are not civilian cars that spawn in civilian classes. That's dependent on whatever civilian faction you choose in the selection screen. These are simply just the things that you can buy from the box or flagpoles. So we are going to come over here, and we are going to get into the other category, and we are going to add this and this. Well, not this one. This and this to the class pool. You know what? I'm actually not going to have this. I'm going to have this one be civilian as well. Yeah, I'm going to replace that one with this one. 05 transport. Oh, actually, hold on. Control Z, Control Z, Control E. Go here and hit Control C, and I'll hit Control Y, hit Control Y, hit Control Y. There we go. So that is the pickups that'll spawn in the militia class, and then I'm going to have that SUV be one of the civilian vehicles spawned in. So we have our 3 civilian vehicles that we're going to add to this faction. All right, so we deleted a bunch of space from the civilian car things. And so some of you might be like, how do I add stuff to this? Highlight one of the lines. We're going to hit Control-C. We're going to click off the highlighted part. We're going to hit Enter and hit Control-V. And then we're going to hit Enter and hit Control-V. And then we're going to hit Enter and hit Control-V. Those are the 3 cars we're adding. So we're going to go into here, and we're going to go here. And this one was UAZ Pat. So UAZ underscore Pat. The next one is UAZ transport OF. UAZ underscore O2 underscore transport underscore F. UAZ 2 transport F. And this is going to be UAZ 3 transport F. So we can copy the one from above and just take that 2 and make it into a 3. So UAZ 3 and above. And I also keep some vanilla vehicles that can transport stuff if you want to transport like supplies and stuff, but you want to do it undercover. The off-road and the vans can all transport vehicles, and then the civilian trucks I'm not going to change either because these are just generic civilian trucks. So all of these can also hold the cargo that you're trying to transport. And then we get down to civilian helicopters. That is the civilian Little Bird. I'm going to change it to a civilian Mi-8 because these are Russians. So we're going to go into civilians, and we're going to go into helicopters. Or I guess we're going to go into helicopter, not helicopters. And we are going to spawn the easier to type out class name because I'm being lazy right now. Okay. We're going to change the civilian helicopter up. RHS underscore MI8T underscore civilian. Keep the boat the same. Okay. So now we are going to change up some statics. Now, this part I am going to steal from another one of my factions. So we are going to go ahead and open up the File Explorer. And we are going to go into Steam Library, Steam Apps, Common, Arma 3. We're going to come here. We're going to hit /. We're going to click Workshop. And we are going to find my Russian extension, because I want the statics from my Russian extension. I don't want to use American statics with a Russian rebel faction. I want to use Russian statics with a Russian rebel faction. So we're going to come down here and go into the modern, no, not that one, this one, add-ons. We're not going to extract the PBO this time. We're just going to go into the templates section, go into Russia, and I'm going to steal them from Russia. Minimize this, and I just want the statics. That's all I want. So static MG right here. Okay, so I'm going to open up, oops, I don't need this open. I'm going to put this on the side. I'm going to bring up this on the side as well, and I don't know why Copilot takes up so much of the screen. Okay, so we have a M2 right now, 50 cal, but Russia doesn't use the Browning M2. Russia uses like cords and dishcoms. So I'm going to change that to a cord. We're going to double click into that. Again, why I recommend having Notepad++ instead of just using the regular Notepad is it'll bracket everything out correctly. Notepad++, you're going to have to go into like Word formatting and make sure it's like not wrapped or whatever. It's just so much easier to look at things through Notepad++. So we're going to go to Notepad++. We're going to go ahead and hit Control-C on our high-loaded cord. We're going to come into here, double click onto that, and we're going to change that to the cord. And we're going to then go down to the AT pod, and this is using a cornet, and that is using a tow missile. Obviously, Russia is not using tow missiles unless they stole them, so we're going to change that to a cornet. Iglopod, this is a Stinger pod, so we're going to change the Inger pod. We're going to make sure the Russians are using the correct equipment, essentially. So Iglopod in for that. You could theoretically go into, man, I'm clicking all the wrong buttons right now. You could go into, statics within a Russian faction and figure that out in turrets, but I already have it, so it's just easier to copy the correct class information over instead of having to type it out yourself. So we go back in. We changed our AA. The mortars are going to be, where are my mortars? Right here. It is the 2B14. I'm going to change this to 2B14. Now, you don't need magazines for anything besides your mortars and your howitzers, but I don't think Rebel factions even get a howitzer. So this is what a Invader faction looks like, but we need to make sure that the mortars have the right ammunition. So we go down into the mortar ammunition right here, and we grab the high explosive ammunition, and we change that out to the correct high explosive ammunition. And then we come over here, and we're going to change out the smoke into the correct smoke. Mines, I'm not that pressed about, but we will go ahead and change them. And Apris mines, we will go ahead and change out. And that's all we need from this. We can go ahead and close that out, and go ahead and full screen that back up. And now we're getting into gear. Now, this is what I build a lot of extensions, especially some of the extensions that have nicer starting gear. I build them so the starting gear is not unlimited. As you can see, all the starting gear starts in quantities of 35, because I recommend that a lot of these factions be played with no unlocks turned on, so you can experience it like a true military would, because the military does have a stockpile of weapons, but it's not an infinite stockpile of weapons and ammunition, and if you're not getting resupplied, that stockpile will inevitably run out. So this is kind of what I do. Some things do come in unlimited quantities, like vests and stuff like that. I'm thinking about changing that up on certain factions, but this is basically what I do. A lot of other people's stuff will be in a list from left to right. I kind of like to break it out, just so I can see everything one by one. It's a little bit easier to fix a mistake that way, instead of having to look through an entire line. Everything is its own line. Some people have 161 will be like fucking 78 different items in one line of text. That's insane. For me, for the way my brain works, this is the way I prefer to look at it. So we're going to go ahead and change a bunch of this stuff. So the first thing that loads is an M112 demolition charge. M112 demolition charge. The Russians don't use M112 demolition charges. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into infantry. We're going to spawn an infantry guy. We're going to right click on him, and we're going to go into edit and edit with Ace Arsenal. This is why I have Ace loaded. I do not like the BI virtual arsenal very much. Ace just functions a little bit better. We're going to sort by mod. This will sort every single gear selection by mod. Yes, you can do this in the BI arsenal, but if you click sort by mod in weapons, it doesn't sort communications by mods or pistols by mods. It only sorts that one selection. You have to go through every single category and hit sort by mod. Ace just streamlines the process, which is what I prefer. We are going to go ahead and make our guy naked. We're going to get rid of his guns, get rid of his launchers. We're going to go ahead and get rid of his helmet. We're going to get rid of his shirt and pants. And we're going to get rid of his vest. Cool. And backpack. All right. So we have a template now. First thing that loaded was explosives. So we're just going to give him a random bag for now. We're going to go into explosives. The M112 is what we gave him originally. We are not going to use the M112. But as you see, I just copied that class name. If you click on an item within Ace and you hit Control-C, it exports that class name to the clipboard. So now if I go back into Visual Studio Code and hit Control-V, it'll paste that line. But we don't want to use a M112. And again, I need to sort by mod. So we're going to go up here and we're going to find a Russian explosive. And I do believe it should be AFRF if it's going to be Russian. I don't know if Russia actually has their own. I would assume them to have their own explosives, but they may not. So I might just do some of the Serbian weapons and give them. There we go. So this is what we're going to give them. We're going to give them this 2.5 pound place charge for their breaching explosives. We're going to hit Control-C. That has that class name exported. So now we're going to double click within the quotation marks and we're going to hit Control-V. And you can see that changed that M112 into this charge. And now we're done with the explosives. Now we get into the rifle category. So I have. Hi there, me again. I glanced over something real quickly right after we added that first explosive. We need to make sure that it is available as an actual breaching charge. And we highlight it, we scroll over here, and we can see it's available as a breaching charge for the tanks, but not for the APCs. So what we're going to do is we're going to come here from behind this comma to the end of this bracket, and we're going to hit Control-C. And then we're going to go right in front of this guy, and we're going to hit Control-V and hit space. Make sure we have the comma in front and the comma behind, but this one doesn't have one. And now this charge is added as a breaching charge for the tank and APCs. And we'll need to make sure that we save and we rebuild and add those files accordingly. There you go. Arma 3. I've actually never really used the Alpha Group mod, but I know it gives them AKs. So let's go down into the Alpha Group section and see what we get. So we get a decent amount of shit. We get AK-103s and 7.62. We get AK-104s and 7.62. We have the 5.45 short barrel variants, AKM, or AK-74s, and AKMs. We get 47s and 74s. It does look like Alpha Group is using AKs chambered in both 7.62 and 5.45. I'm assuming Alpha Group uses the 7.62 rifles in areas where 7.62 is incredibly ubiquitous, like Africa. It's really, really easy to get 7.62 by 39 in Africa. And Alpha Group operates in a ton of countries in Africa, so I'm going, and in Syria, so the Middle East and Africa, very ubiquitous caliber, so I'm going to give Alpha Group both 5.45 and 7.62 AKs, and I'm going to give them one short barrel and one standard barrel gun, and then I'm going to give them an AK-104, so they're going to get the AKMS in the quad rail. We're going to hit Control-C, that class name is now copied over. We're going to go into Visual Studio Code, and right here, we're going to hit Control-P. So now that AK is going to spawn for Alpha Group. We're going to go back into Arma 3. We're going to go to the AK-104 that I want them to have. And that is going to be this AK-104. So we are going to go ahead and hit Control-C. We are going to go over here and Control-V. And now we're going to give them 5.45 platform. We're going to give them the 5.45 in the longer configuration. Everything can't be a folding stock AK, so I do need to give something. All right, that's better. So this is the 74. We're going to hit Control C, Control V, and we're going to go get him a 105. So let's go get a 105. Which 105 do I want? This is the 105 that I want. Okay, we'll give him the 105. And then I'm thinking of giving them... Actually, that might be it. I think that's all I'm going to give them. Yep, that's all I'm going to give them. I'm just going to give 4 AKs to start with. We're going to delete this AR-10 or HK-417 out of the picture. We're going to go here, delete. Cool. So now we're on to the launchers down here. And we are going to give them RPG-26s because RPG-18s suck ass. So we're going to go here and we're going to give them an RPG-26. And I'm going to give him an RSGH as well. Why not? Give him a thermobaric war crime device. So we're going to give him the war crime device. And we're going to put that there. And we're going to go ahead and give him an Igla or a Strela. I haven't decided yet. I thought they had Strelas. Did they not? Huh. Well, I guess there's no Strela, so we'll get Iglas. Oops. I recopied the wrong thing. There we go. Control V. Okay, I'm actually going to change this. 35 is way too many. They'll get 10. And they'll get 10 rockets for it as well. RPGs are also too high, so we're going to go 15 of the thermos, 10 of the 26s. Change this up as well. We're going to go 10 of the explosive charges, 15 of each AK. That's a lot better. Okay. Actually, oops, Control Z, 10 of each AK. Okay. So now we're down into the sights. So we're going to go back up into Arma 3. We're going to go and get our AKs out. And the first AK I chose was that AKM-S with the quad rail. Cool. The Russian infantry does not have access to, like Aimpoint and EOTech magnifiers. So that's the first sight we're gonna give them is a EOTech and Aimpoint mag. Oop. Don't know what the hell happened there. Control. Oh, don't know what's going on. So we're gonna go back, make sure I copied that correctly, because evidently I did not. I'm gonna hit 3 times because of my OCD. And we're going to go and Control V. There we go. So now we have 35 of those optics. I think that's a little bit too much. We're going to drop that down to 15. Next thing I have was an EOTech. I think they can have an EOTech. We'll give them an EOTech with a magnifier. And now we're going to go down here, and we're going to go ahead and give them the aim points from their mods. We'll give them a green aim point. Okay. I'm going to go here, Control C, Control V. I'm going to give them 3 more scope selections. So apparently I copied that class name in the wrong section. So we're going to make sure that I put that in the right section. There we go. Change that down to 15. And then we're going to go up here to these other aim points. As you see, the Alpha Group mod has aim points and EOTechs in the mod. They just didn't have the ones with magnifiers for some reason, which, yeah, I mean, no, I don't think anybody in any conflict anywhere that has the means for it is rocking a no magnification red dot anymore. I think those days have passed. I think it's standard for everybody now to have some sort of magnification, whether that be an LPVO or that be a magnifier attachment for their red dots. But no one's just running around with straight red dots. But I'll add a straight red dot just for the hell of it. Especially in the current conflict Russia's fighting. I mean, those are some long range engagements. You're not going to see anybody with a red dot. You do need magnification. It's not even there's not even a question for it. So that. Oops. Okay. That's right. I forgot I deleted. So I'm going to add more scope things. We're going to go here and Control V, enter and Control V, enter and Control V. So come here and make sure I have that EOTech added. So we have the aim point with the magnifier, we have the EOTech with the magnifier, the aim point we added, the EOTech we added, and then I'm going to give them one of these LPVOs. Okay. So now we are getting into silencers, I think. Oh no, the Rotexes are down here. Now we're getting into laser devices. Is that what's next? I can't remember, to be completely honest with you. I think these are laser devices. Yeah, those are surefire flashlights. Yeah, so these are laser devices. Okay, so we are going to add laser devices to the guns. They probably are going to be rocking in-house stuff. Maybe PEX, though. Does that look retarded? It does sometimes. Yeah, it's not even mounted on the gun. It's just floating there. Okay, so they will not be getting PEX. The flashlight's not even mounted correctly either. Okay, that's the only thing that comes with the Alpha Group stuff, so that's what they're getting. Getting that. And I don't want them to have this many. See, I got ADHD, so I'm going to be going back and forth during a lot of things, but I remembered I only wanted them to have 15 of each of those accessories, and then they'll have 15 of these lights. I don't know if I want to give them a whole bunch of stuff. I might just give them this laser right here and call it a day. What is that even mounting to? Is that even on? It's just floating there with friendship and happiness. Gotcha. Okay. So Alpha Group's just going to get one laser device, unfortunately. So we're going to come down here. We're going to delete all that shit. Put it all up there. All right. These are the suppressors, or the muzzle devices that Alpha Group gets. Oh, they actually have muzzle devices. So that is something I like to see. Now, are these muzzle devices the same for the AKs and the AK-74s? They are somehow, but yes, that makes sense. You'd love to see it. This is a suppressor. Oh, it's got to be a muzzle device. Excuse me. Good lord. 74s and 105s, I'll take that. Do they get like the Putnik or whatever the fuck it's called? No, okay. Oops, no, that's not the one I wanted to copy. That's the one I wanted to copy. Change this to 15. Okay, so they're only going to get that, and then okay, look at that. And then do they get grips? So you can change the grips out for some of them. Oh, he's gonna have bipods? That's kind of cool. Harris bipod's fine for that. I can keep the Harris bipod. Don't need the Rotex. Do they have their own mods? Let's find out. Got our bipod, got our muzzle devices. This is where I wanted to add night vision goggles. I'm thinking I'm adding these. These are pretty sick. I'm going to add the ones with the armbands. Nice. Okay. All right, cool. So that is all of the accessories and weapons that are going to be spawning in minimal quantities. We could theoretically make the magazines and everything else spawn in minimal quantities, but this is just the template that I'm using, so I'm just going to keep it the way I have it set up. So now we need ammunition for the 7.62 AKs, and we need ammunition for the 5.45 AKs. So that is going to be right here. We no longer have a belt fed, so we can delete that. And we no longer have anything shooting 7.62 by 5.1 or anything that's shooting 300 blackout, so we can delete that. So we have our 3 magazine choices for the 5.06. I'm going to go ahead and actually I'm going to hit Control Z. I'm going to keep one of these guys there because I'm going to swap it out. Because we're going to have 2 magazine types for 7.62 and we'll have 2 magazine types for 5.45. So I'm going to go ahead and put that there. And then I'm going to delete this as well. Cool. Okay. We'll swap out the pistols here in a second as well. So we're going to go into the magazine types for our AKs. I am going to give them RHS magazines if it's possible, because I just prefer the ammunition within RHS over vanilla. But you know, you do you when you're making your own extension. Ooh, though that's kind of funny. I'm gonna put that in there, just for the shits and giggles. Let's see. You can also in the Ace Arsenal, it tells you, you know, muzzle velocity and bullet mass and stuff like that. So you can see which ammunition type performs better. And I believe the best ammunition type in here is going to be the 57M231. And then we also have the subsonic version. So I'm going to give them supersonic and subsonic ammo because they are rocking suppressors. So we're going to go ahead here and go here for the AK-74s, or these are the AK-47s actually. So AK-47 magazine 1, and actually change my mind. I'd rather them be these black magazines, not the Bakelite. And then we'll go here and do AK-74, nope, 47 magazine 2. Okay, now we'll use the 74. And we're going to go ahead and come down here. The best ammo in RHS, AK-74 ammo, is going to be the 7N22 or the 7N10. Both are phenomenal. As you can see, they have the same bullet mass and the same weight. Just the 7N22 is slightly faster. That's really it. But both of these are really good ammunition types. So we are going to give a 7N22 over the 7N10. We're going to go ahead 7N22. And then we're going to go right here. And then we're going to go the 71 in the subsonic, just for the running the suppressor. If you want to have quieter ammunition, you can. And then we are going to change the pistol out. Russia does use Glocks. I might keep a Glock, but I do like the way the grok looks, so I might go with the grok instead. We're going to go with the grok. Nope, didn't copy correctly. Control C, there we go. Control V. And the ammunition type for the grok is right here. Control C, Control V. Okay. One more thing. This is a Glock magazine. We accidentally reverted back to the Glock magazine, so we're just going to go ahead and grab that class name from RHS. That's this magazine, or that gun in this magazine. We're going to go with this one. We're going to hit Control C, copy to the clipboard, come up here, and paste it. And now that is the correct magazine for that gun. So always make sure that you proofread your stuff. Alright, so the next thing in the list is actually going to be, after we added that last pistol, is going to be the plate carriers. So we're going to go ahead and take care of the plate carriers. So we're going to go up in plate carriers, vests, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to be putting plate carriers in, but if you wanted to use something like a vest, you can put vests in. But we're going to go down here. Well, I genuinely don't know what to use, so I think we're going to go with the WAS plate carriers, and we're just going to do them in the non-heavy variant. So I like the multicam. Start with this one, Control V. Second one, Control C. Control V. Now use the heavies, Control C. Control V. Control C. Control V. Control C. Control V. There we go. Control C, Control V. All right. So I'm not going to do nearly as many plate carriers as I did for the SAS. We're going to come up here. I didn't do many helmets for the SAS, though, and I think I'm going to change that for the Alpha Group. So let's see. All right. Helmet number 1. And I'm actually going to go ahead and do something real quick. I'm going to highlight this line right here, and we're going to put a few more helmets down. All right, so that was number 1. Let's find number 2. So that is the last of the helmets added. So now we have faceware. We're going to go ahead and go into faceware. We're going to see what we want to give them. They do have their own faceware, which is kind of cool. So I think we're going to add all Alpha Group stuff. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, now I believe we are into the backpack section. So we are going to go ahead and add our backpacks. See what Alpha Group has backpack-wise. And these are just like a lot of, oh, Lord, like back panels and stuff. But that is not modeled correctly. All right. All right, backpacks are done. These are all binoculars and stuff next. Alrighty. And last but not least, we have our grenades. So we are going to go ahead and change grenades out to match some Russian stuff. All right. Now, I don't have TFAR enabled currently, so I don't know what TFAR backpacks will spawn in, if any are enabled with the alpha group mod. So I'm going to go ahead and enable TFAR really quickly. All right, we're back with TFAR loaded up. Let's go ahead and see if TFAR has any backpacks that are added for. Yeah, okay. They do have a few radio bags that actually work. So we will go ahead and add that, even though it looks a little wonky, but oh well. Okay, so that is this. So when we're in the settings right here, we are going to add this from the TFAR beta section, because I don't use regular TFARs. You can just leave regular TFAR blank. In the TFAR beta section, though, the long range bag will be this, and let's see, the black one as well. And we're gonna leave the radio section blank. Okay, so we're done with the radios. Now we come down into the uniform section. This is the uniform for both Rebel players and the AI that spawn in. We are going to go ahead and change up some of these. So let's go ahead into our uniform section and do the uniform stuff. Cue the fast motion. All right, so we have our clothing set up, so we're going to go ahead and highlight this all. We're going to go ahead and hit Control C. We're going to come down to the AI clothing, and we're going to go ahead and highlight it all and hit Control V and replace that with the new stuff. So the AI and the starting players will all have the same gear. We're going to come down here. This is the headgear that spawns in when you don't have helmets, but you'll have helmets from the jumps, so we'll just add one random item in here, just in case I don't want to take helmets from the arsenal for some reason. We will go down into the Russian category of RHS, and we will find just a simple field cap that doesn't look like ass. They all kind of look like ass. Headband. There we go. Okay. So these are all the identities. I don't really think I'm going to change much from the identities, but I am going to change up the voices, because obviously Russians aren't in British English accents. So in the editor, to get into voices, we're going to go ahead and hit right click on our, actually we're going to double click on our guy, and we're going to come down to identity right here, and we're going to go into voice, and we're going to scroll down, and we are going to find the RHS voice lines for Russia, because the vanilla voice lines for Russia are dependent on the contact DLC. So RHS male. Now, I don't believe you're going to be able to copy this, unfortunately. So we're going to come right here, and we're going to go RHS underscore male 01 RUS. And there are 5 of them in total. So we're going to go here, paste it, paste it, paste it, and paste it. I'm going to change this to 2, 3, 4, and 5. Just double check that that's how it is. And that is, in fact, how it is. Okay, we're going to go ahead and hit cancel. And now we're going to alt tab out. And so that is pretty much it for the template. The template is pretty much built in terms of class names. So all of the gear should be correct in here. We're going to go ahead and right click and we're going to click save. Now we need the Russian flag. So to replace out the PNGs I have in here for marker stuff. And if we come up here into pictures, there's also some markers we need to change as well. So we're going to go ahead and now show you how to convert a PNG into a PAA. Right, so we have our PNG for the Russian flag. We have it loaded up here into Paint. What we're going to do is we're going to come over here. We're going to click Resize. And we're going to open this up. We're now going to quickly refresh our memory and remember what the size is that we need. And if we open up, that's why I have the folder. That's why I have the pictures in the folder as a PNG and a PAA, so I can remember the size reference. This is a 512 by 256. This one is also 512 by 256. I believe I have some things duplicated. Yeah, I have some pictures duplicated. Like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I'm just going to go ahead and replace everything. But I don't think you need to have the flag stuff outside of the like whatever your mod name folder is. I think for the script component and stuff like that, you just need it to call from the folder. As you can see, the quote path for this is template scouts, so we have template scouts and then SPMC flag. So I don't believe I even need these, but I'm just going to leave them in there because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we have our photo. We know the files are the picture size we want is 512 by 256. So we're going to click on pixels. We're going to click off of the maintain aspect ratio thing. We're going to come over here in 512 and 256. And we're going to click OK. And now that is the correct size. We're going to come over here and we're going to click save. And then we're going to click close. So now we have our thing. I made this very simple. I put a folder inside of my pictures folder called alpha, and that's what we're going to call from. So we're going to open up Arma 3 tools. And inside of Arma 3 tools, we're going to go to text view 2. And in text view 2, we're going to go to file. We're going to go to open. We're going to go into our pictures. We're going to go into that alpha. We're going to click open. We're going to click on the flag of Russia, and we're going to click open, and that loads everything in. So we literally are going to do one thing here. We're going to, well, two things. We're going to go, but it's so simple. We're going to go into the flag thing we're going to change, and that is this. We're going to hit F2 on that, or you can right-click and hit rename. We're not going to rename anything. Keep it highlighted. We're going to right-click and hit copy, or hit Control-C, and we're going to copy that name. So now we have that SPMC _ S flag. We're going to come over here. We're going to click into text view. We're going to go up here, save as. We're going to change the name from flag of Russia to SPMC _ S flag. Sometimes text view can be a little weird and it won't save properly. So what I do is I save the file as all files. But I don't click save. I just click into all files, and then I go back into the textures PAA and click that and click save. And so now we can minimize this, and we can see right here that the flag title is now SPMC sflag.paa. And we can do the same thing right here. We're going to click on F2 to rename it, and we're going to hit Control-V, and that's going to load this as SPMC sflag.png. So now we have these loaded up. We're going to go ahead and open up the Visual Studio Code. We are going to go from Visual Studio Code, and we are going to find those flags. So we are going to go ahead and close that out. We're going to come right here, and all we're going to do is drag and drop both of these into templates, and you're going to see a file or folder with the name SPMC sflag.paa already exists. Do you want to replace this? Replace. You're going to get another one for the PNG. If you're using my template, you're going to hit replace. And now, if we click on the PNG, we see Oh, that is the wrong PNG. Now if we click on the PNG, we see it is changed to the Russian flag. We're going to go into here and change that in a moment. We click on this, and we can't actually see it, but it is the new Russian flag. So again, we're going to minimize templates. We're going to come right here, or not minimize templates, we're going to just minimize this folder right here. We're going to come right here, and we're going to replace these two with these two. So we're going to go here, and we're going to drag and drop. And again, it's going to give us the same error warning. We're going to hit replace 2 times. And we go over here, we click on the PNG, it is now the Russian flag. And so we have 2 more things we need to edit. So we're going to go into the templates folder, and we are going to go into the scouts folder, and we are going to change the names of these. We don't need these to be S flag anymore. These can now just be flag. So we go change these to flag, and then same texture size. If we look, it is the same texture size, 512 by 256. So we're going to go here. We're going to click here into Scouts, and it's going to give you the prompt again to replace 2 times. So we're going to hit replace, and we're going to hit replace. And if we go here, we double check to see that the PNG is now the right one. We have one more section to go through. We have the marker section right up here. These are the markers for the maps, like when you take a air base and stuff like that. So again, we're going to change the names. We're going to come over here, SPMC, going to make it SPMC marker. And we're going to do the same thing for the PAA folder. We're going to make this SPMC marker. And all we're going to do is drag and drop. And we're going to hit replace and replace. And if we look, it is now the Russian flag. So this is basically done. All the flags are done. The template folder is done. I believe we are now in the debugging stage. So we can go ahead and close here. We're going to full screen this, and we're going to run through everything one more time just to make sure we have everything correct. So we don't need to focus on the build or the meta folders. All we're going to focus on is core and templates. So in core and in templates, well, and we're also going to make sure that these are listed in the client directory. That's listed in the client directory. A3UE _AOG /addons /core, and then the same thing for templates. They are listed there into the client directory. And I just realized I forgot a very crucial step in the template section. So we're going to come down into templates, and we are going to go into the. Okay, so that's we changed this earlier. So in your CFG markers.hpp, this is going to be alpha group. It's calling to the SPC marker for the flag and stuff like that. So that is all correct because we renamed. We kept the same name. We just changed the textures of everything. Because like I said, with my Rebel extensions, I'm a little bit lazy because you can't use Rebel stuff at the same time. So they're all going to share same class names. Make sure everything else is the same. This is all good. This is all good. Okay, so here we go. Now we're into the section right here of the templates. This is where you have this is going to be an everything for rebels, for rivals, for invaders, occupiers, civilians. This template section will exist. So we are going to come up here. The side we're using is not being changed. It's going to be a rebel. The quote folder for the or the path folder for the flag not being changed. We changed the texture, not the name, so that stays. And then the name is being changed. So we are going to change this from Special Air Service to Alpha Group. And then we are going to add a description for Alpha Group. And now I'm going to pause the recording while I figure out a description for Alpha Group. I'll be right back. So I can't think of much for Alpha Group because there's honestly not much known about Alpha Groups. So we are going to go ahead and change this up. Directorate A of the FSB Special Purpose Center. So that's all we're going to choose. If you had a climate section, you could choose whether you wanted it to be arid, Arctic, temperate, or tropical. If you delete that out, you won't even prompt it for it. That's what I do. I want these to be able to spawn on any map I choose without having to hit ignore camo restrictions. So that is looking good there. We can see that the file it's pulling from is going to be the SPMC, or sorry, the SPMC file. So we look down here, and we can see that that is in fact the correct folder that it should be pulling from. So we go through here again and make sure this is looking good. The name is Alpha Group. The description is correct. We're going to go down here to the CFG markers, make sure that's all good, which in fact it is. We're going to come up here into the flag section, make sure this is the correct name. Yep, Alpha Group's good to go. The flagpole is going to be the NATO flagpole. The texture the flagpole is from is going to be this, and then the marker types on the map are going to be from what I selected earlier, and we should be good to go. So if you have a little white ball, as you can see right here, next to anything, that means that it's not saved. So we're going to go through here, and we're going to click right on it, click Save. We're going to make sure everything is saved. Sometimes it just doesn't show up for some reason, so I just like to go through everything, make sure it's saved. So everything's looking good. Everything's looking dandy. We're good here. Okay. So, remember how we built earlier to get that template to build? We're going to do it again. We're going to go ahead and Control-Shift-P. It should be up here in your recently used, but all you're going to do is type Arma 3 if it's not, and it should be one of the ones right here. We're going to click Arma 3 Build. You can see I don't have a key for it yet, but it did build. So we're going to close this down. We're going to look in the build section, and we can see we have our core PBO and templates.pbo. So we're going to go ahead and minimize this for right now. We're going to go ahead and close down the Arma 3 tools section. We can close down text view as well. We're going to go back into the root folder. So we're going to go here into our A drive. We're going to find that root alpha 2. We're going to click into the extender. We're going to click into the build. We're going to go into add alpha, add in the add-on section. We're going to click into the templates PBO. We're just going to make sure things are looking correct. So they are, in fact, looking correct. This is basically what you want to see. Make sure the PNGs are correct. They are. Yep. Wonderful. And then we should be good to go. I hadn't changed anything in this, and I hadn't changed anything in the add-on VIX as well. So that's all staying the same. Okay. So the next step is getting it up in Arma 3. There's a couple ways you can do this. The simplest, easiest way to do this is to test everything out is to go into your mods section. The first thing you want to do, I've made this mistake like 20 times. Be like, why is it not working? Oh, it's because I don't have Antistasi loaded. You need to have the mod you're making the extension for loaded. So we're going to go ahead and get Antistasi Ultimate loaded. Going to close this down. Okay, Antistasi Ultimate's loaded. All the equipment mods I was using, plus ACE and CBA, and TFAR, I guess. We don't actually need TFAR loaded for this. So we have everything loaded. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and click More. And we're going to click Add Watched Folders. Now I have a watched folder from my SAS mod. I don't actually need to watch this anymore because this is currently available on the workshop. So we're going to go ahead and click Add Custom Folder. Now, sometimes things can be a little glitchy, so I like to just right-click in a blank spot and hit refresh. And then we're going to go in and then right-click in a blank spot and hit refresh one more time. And we're going to go to Root Alpha 2, A3UE Extender, and we're just going to one-click on Build and click Select Folder. And it's going to load Alpha Group version 0.0.1. We're going to click Load Mod, and we can see it's auto-included with everything. And we're going to go ahead and click Play. I will see you once Arma 3 opens. Alright, so I like to test my factions on Malden, so that's what I'm going to do. We're going to go into Malden, we're going to host a LAN session. We're going to go ahead, Malden 2035, Antistasi Ultimate Malden, click Play, load it as the default commander, load all of this up. Alright, so we've loaded Antistasi onto Malden. We're going to go ahead and click Continue. We are going to go ahead and go into our factions section, and we can see Alpha Group is available as a faction. So you got to test everything to make sure it works. So we're going to click Alpha Group. We're going to load regular vanilla civilians. We're going to load the U.S. Army Marine Corps. And I mean, it literally does not matter. So we're just going to load everything randomly. We're literally just testing this stuff out. So load game, blah, 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 blah. Create new game, start. Alpha Group, Rebels, vanilla civilians, RHS Army occupants, Serbian invaders, and the Chidaki as the rivals. So we're going to click yes. Two things are going to happen if I fuck something up. One is it's going to load fucking forever and never spawn. If that's the case, that means that I messed something up. But it loaded and spawned with the red flag. So I don't think I messed anything up. And like I said, when you go through a template that's already been built out for you, like mine, a lot easier to do everything correctly on the first go. And looks like I did everything correctly on the first go. I don't want to pat myself on the back yet, though, so we're going to go through the arsenal and make sure everything's loaded correctly. So we have, look at that, we have the 10 of each AKs that I wanted, and then we have the 10, 15, and 10, and we have our infinite pistol, because, sidearms suck in this game, so it doesn't really matter if handguns are unlimited. But we have our 10 AKs. Let's look into the vest section. Hey, look at that, the vests are there. And let's go look at the clothing selection. Hey, look at that, all the clothing selection that I made is there. Let's go ahead and look at the backpacks. Backpacks are there. Helmets. Helmets are there too. You just gotta scroll all the way to the top. If you don't want all these fucking... I should have done this. I don't know why I didn't. But if you don't want all these random clothing options spawning, there's a parameter that you can select. Actually, I'll show it right now. Spawn in. You are just going to... go into the params over here. We're going to go into advanced parameters, and we're going to disable cosmetics. So you see how this says enable cosmetics? Yes? No. We don't want any cosmetics to show. We're going to hit start. Make sure this looks okay. Alpha Group Rebels, Vanillion Civilians, Vanillion, a little caffeinated right now. Vanilla Civilians, Army Occupiers, Serbian Invaders, Chidaki Rivals. Going to head and hit play. And I didn't make any mistakes, luckily, so it's going to load up correctly. But if you, like I said, the two things that'll happen is, one, everything will load in like this, but there'll be no flag on the flagpole, no box, no nothing like that. If you look up in the top of the screen, it won't say Alpha Group up there. It'll say, nothing. It'll just be a blank spot up there. And the second thing that can happen is it just does not load. It just infinitely loads. And the way to check that would be to close out of Arma. You're going to hit Windows key and R. You're going to go into local app data. And you'll bring up Arma 3 folder. And I just do by date by modified, because that'll bring up the most recent RPT. You're looking for that RPT file right there with today's date. Today is the 11th or the 29th of November. So we see the 29th of November. And right now it is 6:42. Now this one's from 6:37, but that's because I haven't closed my Arma yet. If I were to close my Arma and reopen it, there'd be a new RPT folder in there. But there's one being currently generated right now because I'm in the game. But nothing has fucked up currently, so there isn't a error message to look at. So we saw that all of the clothing options were there. I'll go through it again. So all the clothing options were there, all the vests were there, all the backpacks were there, and we disabled the cosmetics, so now we don't have a million hats and stuff like that. We just have the helmets that I selected, plus that headband. And we go into face wear, we just have the facial wear that I selected. And night vision's just the night vision I select. There's not a bunch of other extra stuff like fucking cigarettes or anything else. So if you people who like to use mods like immersion SIGs or stuff like that, one of two things. You'll have to keep cosmetics on and deal with all that extra nonsense, or you can add the cigarettes and stuff into the arsenal via Zeus, which is probably what I would do. But as you can see, the GPS terminals and stuff are there. No radios because I'm not using TFAR. And... it's a simple stuff. It is a little overpowered in certain areas, but if you play with incredible hardcore difficulty settings on, it won't make that much of a difference. You will get destroyed by Russian helicopters or whoever you're playing against. You'll get destroyed by cast strikes and QRFs and stuff like that. So it's not as easy as it may seem to start with good gear. Some people might be purists on Antistasi, but I think starting with a few rifles and play curious is not as much of an advantage as some people like to make it seem. So we're going to go into the garage, and we're going to make sure that everything's spawning correctly there. So we have our civilians vehicles. These are older vehicles, so sometimes they don't spawn in the or they don't show up picture-wise in the garage as some of the newer mods do. Because I don't think these were ever intended to be used with Antistasi. The UAZ Patriot mod I'm using hasn't been updated in quite a while, but it does work, and it will spawn you in like civilian stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and spawn the red pickup truck, And if we hop in the red pickup truck, we now have the undercover right here on. So this is considered a civilian vehicle in the game. It won't spawn in the civilian carpools until I get civilian vehicles figured out with their weighted class names, but I'm working on that. But, just for undercover stuff, you want to go on a patrol and not get shot at immediately. You don't want to drive the default vanilla stuff around, because RHS unfortunately doesn't add many civilian vehicles. So you can just use one of these, and you'll be able to chill. And then we go back into it. We go into the Rebel section. We can see that all of the Rebel vehicles I added are there. So we have our quad bikes, we have our truck, we have our UAZs, we have our UAZ bus, we have the comms pickup truck, UAZ armies, the camo. See, that one appeared correctly. And so did this one. These are 2 modded vehicles, but this one, for some reason, is not showing up. And we have the medical variant as well. Can't buy statics yet because I haven't got any the military garrisons that you need, like factories and resource posts. But that is pretty much it when it comes to building an extension. It's long, it's tedious. One other thing, when you do build an extension that has limited weapon supplies and you aren't using them, I can't speak now. If you play with no unlocks turned on, your guys will not. I'm sorry. If you play with no unlocks turned on, they will grab weapons from the arsenal, no problem. As you can see, I have no unlocks turned off right now. I think the unlock quantity I have set is like 15, maybe 10, or 25. 25 is the unlock limit I have. AI, for some reason, will not grab a weapon you have in the arsenal that is not unlocked if you have unlocks turned on. So you'll have to get unlocks. You basically have to unlock the rest of these rifles via Zeus, or set the thing to 10, and then hit refresh in the box right here. If you hit the restore units part, this will refresh the arsenal and unlock every one of the guns, and then you just save and restart the game. And if you load back up, all the AI will start pulling weapons from the arsenal. But if you're not playing with unlocks on, you won't run into this issue whatsoever, as this faction is intended to be used. You have a limited supply of weapons and gear, because you are a small special forces team behind enemy lines, destabilizing, sabotage, or influencing local guerrillas, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's really how you do it. If you have any questions or stuff, we'll helpfully answer anything that I can on Discord. My username is SC0UTS, Scouts with a 0 instead of an O. No numbers or anything like that, just SC0UTS on Discord, and I will help you out. But yeah, I hope this was a helpful extension. I did ramble a lot. I'm sure that it'll look a little bit more coherent when I edit everything. But that's how you do it. That's how you get it done. I have Alpha Group as a Rebel extension, which will be released on the workshop shortly. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful day. Hi there. I ended that recording without really explaining where to go once your extension works and you're ready to publish it. So, when you're ready to publish it, you have a build folder. So we're going to put a new folder down right here, and we're going to call it Alpha Group. And we're going to go into this. We're going to go into the root that we had. I always just like to refresh just to make sure I'm pulling the most up-to-date kind of file I need. So we go into our directory for the root, we go into where we were working, we go into the master, and we go into build, and we literally just drag add alpha into Alpha Group. And it should be in there now. We can close this down and look in Alpha Group, and we should have our core and our templates. So the next thing you would do is you would open up the publisher. So you open up Arma 3 Tools, and you open up the publisher. And you would select the file that you're trying to upload. So, for example, we just did Alpha Group. So we're going to go to Alpha Group, and we're going to click the Alpha folder, and we're going to name this A3UE, all caps, to make it look nice, Alpha Group. And we know it works, so we can, this is why we debug everything beforehand. We know it works, so we can release it as public. And we can write our description on what we want the mod to be. And then we agree to the terms and services, and we publish our work. You can also put a picture in to give it a nice little, thumbnail on the mod workshop. But that's how you publish a mod. You drag the folders from the root into another folder, and then you select that folder as the mod content that you want to do and publish it. And there you go. That's really it. Like I said, it's pretty simple to make these extensions. It's just tedious because you have to copy and paste and type a lot of stuff in and make sure you're not missing any punctuation at all. Like, you're not missing brackets, you're not missing commas, you're not missing quotation marks and stuff like that. So that's how you get that done. But like I said, anyone needs any help, reach out to me on Discord. I'm more than welcome to help.